As you know, technology is disrupting every field, and even in the higher education space is also, is deeply the tectonic shifts in the higher education space because of the technology, and the pandemic actually has accelerated the adoption of technology. And on top of it, you have NEP 2020. We have the recent UGC reforms, right, which have actually are looking at technology as the main central to for many strategic objectives. For example, increasing the gross enrollment ratio in higher education space to 50%. Right? So it is imperative that the higher education institutes adopt technology to stay relevant and to stay competitive. So, there are multiple providers when it comes to automating various operations in the institute. And it is very important that higher education institutes do proper due diligence before selecting a partner, because the technology partner will play a very critical role in ensuring that there is optimum adoption of technology in your institute, as well as to ensure long-term success. Right. So the theme for today's panel discussion is campus and cloud, key considerations while choosing the ERP partner. So when I say campus and cloud, I mean the campus management software delivered as a service, right? Not an on-premise, but as a service model, which is hosted on cloud, and all it needs is just an internet connection for you to log in, right? So the objective of today's panel discussion is to understand how technology is increasingly taking a central role in higher education space, as well as key considerations, right? And I'm very excited to moderate today's panel. There is, as introduced by Darshan, we have a really, top educators from universities across India. And it's really my privilege to moderate this panel discussion. So the structure will be, there'll be 2 rounds, and followed by there'll be a Q&A session if time permits, and the audience can ask questions. So let's get started. So the question to Dr. Sanku Bose. Sir, the world is increasingly turning VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, right? Whether it's a pandemic or the global impact due to wars like the one in Ukraine, the future is looking highly complex and uncertain. So the question to you is how technology can be leveraged for better governance of institutes in these tough times.
So a good question. So that today technology makes the entire world as a globally connected village. Okay. And in fact, if you look at that, how the technology enabled everybody, so you can connect it. And with the new technology is on our card, which is a metaverse, which will make you the more connected that what we had 30 years back in a .com era. So that's why the adoption of, particularly when I joined this institute, so I selected TCSIM because we didn't have the proper one integrated ERP platform. So I felt the need because we are the largest education group in Eastern India, probably in India, because our student strength is about 1 lakh students enrolled every time. So with such a huge students managing that, so some sort of an ERP was need of the hour. So that's how we connected, and the technology is definitely helping us to be connected. The whole business is enabled, making us efficient and is in a performance driven. And it relates to say that adoption of technology in education sector was well ahead in the Western world long time back. I, in fact, remember used LMS back in 1996 when I joined Pricewaterhouse in United States. So we had a continuing education every year, 40 hours. So our education platform was nothing but LMS and the gaming. So with pandemic, our part of the world, like India or the developing country, they force, that this kind of mega event, though has a lot of bad side, but there's some good side. Like this after Second World War, so we got operation research, you got quantum mechanics. Same thing with this, how people can work without shoulder touch that technology taught us. Look at this entire IT consulting world. Okay. Earlier, everybody used to go to the one place, work night shift, day shift under one roof and all. Now everybody's working from home and the world is running. The profit margin has gone up. Environment has saved significantly. There's a lot of carbon monoxide. So that's why, needless to say, that the higher education industry in India adopted technology significantly. And I think TCS Iron kind of a platform has a significant market to play, but TCS Iron itself has a lot of room to improve as well. I guess that's it.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for that insightful inputs, sir. Next question to Dr. Indranil. Sir, as you know, NEP is envisaging technology to play a critical role in the governance and also in the day-to-day operations. For example, it is recommending formation of NETF, right? National Education Technology Forum, which will provide a platform for free exchange of ideas on technology adoption and how to enhance a learning, assessment, planning, administrations, etc. So how should institutes strategize to meet the NEP guidelines?
The first thing is that having some kind of a platform through which the different institutes can share their knowledge and skills and have some kind of a collaboration among them is very much essential for the realization of the true objectives of NEP 2020. This is the first thing. And creation of the NETF alone will not solve the problem, because NETF is nothing but some kind of a proposed platform. A platform is no good unless you have people on it. So what I personally feel is that the institutes must be proactive. As of today, each institute likes to function on its own. They develop technology which they do not share with others, but that is not the way forward. This is what I feel. The institutes must collaborate among each other to bring out their best practices, because every institute has something which the others don't have. I firmly believe that. And if we can consolidate this, the kind of adoption of technology, how the institutes are doing it, then what we can do is that we can stop reinventing the wheel. We can have the best adoption of the technology. Duplication of efforts can be avoided. Like, I can cite a few examples. For example, at the university where I am now, JIS University, we have developed our in-house ERP because we have realized long back that having an ERP to manage and automate all the internal activities is very important. So as of today, all our HR activities, material handling, starting from stores, purchase, everything, then salary processing, student handling, everything, it is managed by the ERP. Moreover, even before the pandemic had struck, JIS Group had started with their own indigenous version of LMS. And there was a practice which was going on even in the pre-pandemic era, that the classes that were taken by the faculty members, they were recorded and posted on the LMS, so that a student, if he or she misses some of the classes or could not understand what was covered in the classes, can come back and see the lectures again at whatever time is convenient to him or her, right? And lastly, I want to say is that we are very much open to embracing technologies. For example, in this year, in this session, we are using the TCS Ion platform for conducting our admission entrance examination. So I am sure this will be a great experience because TCS Ion is a very renowned platform through which the main advantage is the scalability. Scalability is not an issue at all with TCS Ion, and we are very much confident that we can take this relationship forward in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Indranil. Very good insights. Yes, not every institute would be capable to, have their own in-house ERP. So many would need partners like say TCS Ion who can help them implement it. Then the other advantage of this is, we bring the best practices, right? Because we work with hundreds of institutes. Whatever is the best practice in the space, so everything is already inbuilt into the platform. So that is what the institute who adopts this platform can leverage compared to an in-house ERP. But yes, whichever way, I think technology would definitely needs to be embraced, right? Whether it is someone's platform or our own platform. Thanks, Dr. So next question is to Dr. Nagaraj. Sir, UGC, is aggressively bringing reforms in HE space. For example, it has approved to launch online degrees and recently even the dual degrees. Right? And with these reforms, more and more HEIs or higher education institutes have started offering online programs. So they have an overhead now, right? In addition to the on-campus operations, now they need to manage the online programs as well together, and which will definitely add to their overall management oversight and the operational management. So how should institutes manage their operations and leverage the technology to meet this additional demand and overhead to their operations?
Thank you, Mr. Reddy, and good evening to my fellow panelists. At the outset, I would like to first tell that Kalasalingam Academy of Research and Education is already a partner with TCS Ion. We are offering collaborative joint programs with TCS for our arts and science programs, the BSc Computer Science, BSc IT, BCA. These are a few programs which we are already offering in collaboration with TCS Ion. So TCS Ion is already a partner in our journey in higher education. That is the first aspect. The second part is, yes, UGC has been liberalizing the higher education spectrum, and we are seeing several such initiatives coming out day in and day out. And online and open distance learning program introduction was again a big moment in the higher education spectrum, wherein the universities were identified based on their performance across the various accreditations or maybe NIRF rankings, and then given away these centers of online and distance learning programs. We ourselves, Kalasalingam Academy of Research and Education, are offering open distance learning programs as well as online programs. Roughly about 15 programs are offered under these two categories. We have had our own challenges while we formulated the content. It could be the content for the online programs across the 4 quadrants as prescribed by the UGC, or it could be the content for the open distance learning, which was in the printed version. Motivating the faculty and then putting it across in the proper perspective was indeed a challenge. And UGC at that point of time had a mandate that these content that is prepared must be originally belonging to the university. It should be a non-SWAYAM portal, and no partnerships were possible. At one point of time, I think all of us would have read in the newspapers also, UGC telling that you should not partner with any private agency in preparing the content, or maybe so whatever support that the university needs in offering these programs. But now we see that the scenario is changing, and then there was a clarification that yes, you can partner, but to what extent and what levels, they were also very clearly defined. And finally, the onus was on to quality of content, and also the the expertise to deliver the content to the stakeholders. Now, these were the two very important metrics that all of us as administrators of higher education had to keep in mind. Yes, the load on the faculty shall be very high when it comes to asking them to do both take care of the students who are coming physically on campus versus students on the virtual platform. So it is indeed a big load, but yes, we may have some specific number of people who've been appointed exclusively to take care of this. But even after that, the type of expertise which is needed in creating the content, which is at par with any learning management system, obviously shall remain a challenge, and that is where people can look towards partnering with companies like TCS Ion, because you people may have the content, though the problem there might be the proprietary of the content, wherein the statutory bodies say that the content must originally belong to the university, and how far the role of a partner like ION is defined. So that needs to be looked into, and obviously there is scope for a joint collaboration, but to what extent these collaborations can extend is for all of us to look into. And in addition to this, UGC has also now given the option of this academic bank of credits, where students can take courses from other universities, students can take online courses and then register these courses and have a bank of credit, and then claim in one of the universities where he or she is graduating. Now this dual degree program, now all this open up a huge space for all the players like ION, where you have a niche role there in helping the higher educational institutions. My personal experience with TCS has been excellent. We have been able to do wonderfully well. Our collaboration with ION, all the stakeholders, the student as well as the people who are associated with them, the faculty, are all very much comfortable and appreciative of this collaboration with ION, and look forward to many such to come. But obviously under the prescription of the regulations of the statutory bodies.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thanks for those kind words. And yes, when it comes to the learning and content, yes, definitely, I think there'll be an overload on the faculties, and yeah, it's important that you find a good partner. Also, when it comes to managing the operations, for example, for all the, say tomorrow, if you launch an online degree, right, you have to manage the admissions and manage the learning and their until they become alumni, right? Their exams, everything, right? So there is, we strongly feel technology has to be leveraged so that you don't have to keep adding more and more manpower, right? You can leverage technology in that regard. So thanks for your input, sir. The next question is to Dr. Sojan Lal. Sir, in last few years, there is increasing digitization in every sector. As you know, data is become central to every conversation, right? To the extent some are saying data is the new oil. So, and the companies have started appointing chief data officers nowadays, and that's a very strategic role. And this role never existed a few years back. Right? So, how important is data in the higher education context, and how can it lead to the competitive differentiation for the institute? So, this is a question to you.
Thank you, sir, and good evening to all the dear distinguished panel members, moderator, and all the participants. So thank you for inviting us for this one. And also, I'm very glad to inform you that TCS Iron is a partner with MBITS Engineering College, Kerala, where I'm the principal since 2012. And so far, as a joint collaboration, providing the infrastructure, and we have been doing very well. And our sincere appreciation to TCS Ion and all the people around. As you mentioned, that the data is the new oil in the digital era. When the data is processed, analyzed, and utilized efficiently and instantly, it will have much value to adjust the strategy of an organization and its effective governance. So there are lots of examples which we can bring from lots of areas like the medical, research organization, which are plenty in numbers, automotive, aerospace, defense, agriculture, finance service, communication service, and now we know that many of the higher education institutions. The universities, AICT, UGC, various institutions across the world are having the huge data, which is used for the knowledge sharing, skilling, upskilling, using the virtual labs, examinations, as some of you are already mentioned, simulations, administration, campus management, digital library, as Professor also was telling about from the Indranil was telling about the ERP systems, student admission to the alumni activities. All the huge amount of data is coming. And in the recent years, particularly due to the COVID-19, the pedagogy is much more dependent of data than ever before. The storage and retrieval through various systems, such as all this mentioned before, is also coming so vital and all. So the performance management is an issue, and it is a key factor for us. The key performance management, maybe the dashboards, and again, that will also give us a lot of insight for taking the quick decision as such. So first of all, the implementation of this, then successive progressing of this, then again, as a dynamic requirement, how we will fit into various aspects of this. These are all the areas where we say that the digital process or the data is so vital. And now also we know that there is a particular branch of computer science. Initially the branch was there. Now also there is another branch is evolving, which is data science with computer science and all. So these are all some of the points which I'd like to share on this occasion. Thank you, and back to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely agree. There are a lot of, tons of data that is being generated by higher education institutes today. At least those who have, embraced technology. There is a digital platform, and a lot of things can be, for example, personalization of learning, right, which is kind of the in thing now, and many are trying to see how they can tailor-made learning for each student, because not everyone is equal. Right? So that's a kind of very important application of AI, when it comes to using the data that has been generated on the platform. So thanks for the input, sir. The next question to Dr. Dipankar. Sir, managing the institute operations efficiently is a top priority for most institutes. Unfortunately, faculties are many times kind of leveraged for admin functions instead of academic activities. So the question to you is, how should institutes plan to drive efficiency in the administration through automation and by standardizing the processing and adopting the best practices and also technology?
Thank you. Good evening to all the distinguished panel members, all the participants. Actually, if we want to discuss this topic, I think we need to address two keywords. One is faculty itself, and another keyword is ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. We have to address these two things. Now, if you go by Oxford Dictionary, it's defined, faculty is defined as a group of related departments, sections, centers, and units in a college or university aiming at a common goal. Now here, we can clearly see the complexity associated to a faculty. It is not just an entity, it is the whole system. And a faculty actually is a part of a whole system. So we need appropriate functioning of the faculty members. And I was just trying to look at the different administrative responsibilities of faculty members. And I found like teaching is usually the role of the faculty members, as we often see. But there is attendance, there is learning records, then there is tracking of learning on a continuous basis, analysis of feedback, then save the study materials or videos, then for the weak students, what are the measures we need to take, then research, curriculum development, examinations, collaborations, internal or external, then resource allocation, community development, and also ranking, that is becoming an important parameter nowadays, then admission, mentoring. So you just go on naming it, HR activities, purchase, meetings, minutes of meetings. So it's a huge task as an administrative part. So if the faculty members get engaged in doing so, most of the time will be wasted. And it is not really today as a continuation of the COVID scenario. Now technology has become a part and parcel of any educational institution. And as Krishnan was mentioning, the 4 parameters, learning, assessment, operations, and placement are the key areas of working TCSIN. Now the thing is, it sounds simple, but it is very, very complex. I am giving you one small example, like we can have a feedback mechanism with any ERP software. But whether the feedback has been taken care of, whether which action we have taken, what is the outcome of that feedback, we need connection between all these activities. So that is going to be very important. And with just manual system, it is impossible to do. So we need not only recording of data, presentation of data, we have to work on interpretation of data and take measures or take help from this ERP in decision making. So artificial intelligence kind of things also should be a part of this ERP activities. I just wanted to say one thing, small thing, like you need a strategic approach, because for automation, how far we have to go for automation, whether it will be full automation or whether it will be partly we will automate the thing. And this strategic approach will succeed if one looks not only just to a department, one looks at the entire university or at the entire college, then only this strategic approach will work. And it's a complex process, like you have to know the existing process, and all universities or all colleges are different. You have to benchmark all the variations, understand the key challenges, decision mix of automation, and you have to implement it. Now, whether the system is going to rightly work or not, you need to create some parameters or index, how to measure the output. So all these things and the rollout plan, everything we have to take care of. So it's not a simple process, and we need experienced hands for that. So like TCS ION, it has the ability to handle all the different areas. So we need to work in those areas. Then only we can reduce the load of the faculty members, and we can engage the faculty members more on teaching and research. And these ERP applications can take care most of the administrative activities, and it will help the institutions a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Completely agree. Technology will definitely play a very critical role in this automation. And yes, a complete end-to-end integration will give a lot of value compared to partial implementations in different departments, because integration of data and getting a 360 degree of data is very, very important. Thank you. Thanks for the inputs. Yeah, so that's end of round one, and as we heard from all our fellow panelists, technology, whether it is having an ERP or AI or having data, is extremely critical for today's HEI to be competitive and to stay relevant, and also to ensure that they're compliant to the policy and regulations. Right? Now, next, let's move. What are the key considerations while we select ERP partner? Right? So, question to Dr. Sanku Bose. Sir, as I mentioned earlier, there are multiple providers, right, who are catering to different areas, functional areas within an institute, whether it's admissions, accounting, library, right? There are many small applications which have this very specific functions and utility. But the challenge with this is, it creates silos because data is now contained within, limited to that specific application, which brings inefficiency to the institute governance. So how should higher education institutes go about adopting a single end-to-end integrated ERP platform?
Yes, so about 2 years back, we gone through this exercise while we decided that we will go with an ERP, and TCS was one of them in the competition, and I guess we've gone through all of them, including the company like Canvas or Blackboard. But looking at the all aspects, so definitely TCS scored quite high. And there are multiple factors. The decision-making criteria was many things. So the company was in a deep root in India. That was one of the key criteria, because I used Blackboard extensively while I was in the United States, and Canvas as well. But some of them may not fit well here, in particular in Indian context. And that too, the TCS ION has a lot of built-in compliance criteria from UGC, AICTE, and our local governing bodies and all. So those are the factors implement. So far our experience, I think whatever the decision we made, it is a good, as I said earlier also, but there's a lot of room for TCS ION to improve on it. And I think that the people are working on it as well. So far our experience is very pleasant. And I guess whatever the study, we reached out to almost 10 or 12 companies, and each of them has small, this patch, that patch, some modules are strong, this module is strong, some proctoring is strong, someone has LMS is strong, but is under one roof. That was our criteria, which covers the digital learning as well as the digital campus, which is complete ERP end to end. And so it met our criteria. I think so far, I think we made the right decision to go for the TCS ION, and people have started loving it. And I think we guess, since we won the first phase, quite a few institute, colleges and the universities. So there's a different level of adoption. Somewhere people adopted about 50%, somewhere people adopted almost 95%. Depends on how serious they are taking it. As a management overall point of view, we want to continue with this program, and it's a good, and I think, I'm sure the TCS, since it's a cloud product, so they are also improving in every version based on our feedback and all. So it's a good product to go with in higher education, I think, at this point, and it has an edge over its competitor. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. Yes, when we keep working with large institutes like we keep taking feedback, we incorporate it back into the platform and keep improving it, sir. Thanks for those words. So next question is to Dr. Indranil. So software as a service, SaaS, as you know, sir, is becoming increasingly common nowadays. Almost in every sphere, we see SaaS today. But because of the fact that data, right, stays not in your institute premises anymore, but it will be in some remote data center somewhere. So that might cause some anxiety. So what are the key considerations for an institute while selecting the cloud-based ERP solutions?
This is a very good question. Let me try to answer it from an academician's point of view. This may be slightly different from what a business executive may like to say when he or she is trying to sell the product. See, when we are storing our data in the cloud, some data may be very confidential, some data may not be so confidential. The main issue that I see is security and confidentiality. How do I know who will guarantee me that my data cannot be tampered with? Some unauthorized people cannot see my data. See, one thing you can argue that if I have a confidential data, something which is very secret, I can always encrypt my data and then put on the cloud. But there are two things here. When I am accessing the data from cloud, somewhere that data must be decrypted. And secondly, if I have a lot of data, I should also like to do some kind of manipulation on the data. I want to search, I want to do some calculations and so forth. But because the data are encrypted, how do I do that? And if I say that in the cloud, they will be decrypted and an application will be processing on that, then the cloud server will become the vulnerable point. I would not trust that server because my confidential data is getting decrypted there, and that server is not under my control, right? There is a lot of research going on a topic called homomorphic encryption. I believe this is one of the technologies which can be adapted in the future, because there is no denying of the fact that in the future we have to go for cloud-based solutions. But homomorphic encryption is also coming in a big way. There are a lot of challenges though, but a lot of progresses has also have been made. In homomorphic encryption, we can directly carry out a lot of manipulations and searching while staying in the encrypted domain. There is no need to decrypt the data. So my safety and confidentiality remains intact. Because of these issues, I can understand many of the institutes are a little bit reluctant to keep their very confidential information on the cloud. Like for example, in our university also, we have our own in-house server where all the important HR and student data are maintained, right? So what I feel is that in order to increase our confidence in the use of this kind of cloud-based solutions, there should be some kind of a certification mechanism. There has to be a proper vulnerability assessment and penetration testing mechanism for these kind of cloud-based solutions, which are very much different from normal network penetration testing. So if such a framework can be worked out, and if a third party can certify that, well, this platform I have evaluated, it is good, it is secure, we can keep our data securely there, then it will increase my confidence. That's how I see it as an academician. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, sir. Thanks for those inputs and also explaining about homomorphic encryption. Yes, sir, I agree. So, when cloud computing started, say, more than 10 years back, right? So there was a high level of anxiety, and many corporates, mainly the banking and financial BFS sector, so they were very, very. There was a reluctance because that's the most sensitive customer data when it comes to financial information. And but today, as you see, sir, I think most of us use mobile banking and apps and everything, right? So they could break through that barrier because of increase, advancement in technology when it comes to data security and encryption and etc. Yes, that is one factor. And also, when it comes to say disaster recovery, for example, a few years back when there was a floods in Mumbai, a lot of servers got submerged and database lost. So it's important that the provider, the cloud data center provider, so they have disaster recovery so that there is redundancy of data is maintained. For example, TCS Ion. So we have, we maintain a disaster recovery server which has exact replica of all the production data at any point of time. If anything happens on the main production server, immediately we have backup to the second, right? So that's an important consideration. Anyway, thanks for that insight, sir. So next question is to Dr. Nagaraj. Sir, when it comes to technology implementation, right, there are success stories as well as there are failure stories. And the main reason for the failures is because of, the change management factor, because most staff are used to working in a kind of manner for many years. And suddenly when it's something new process or a new way to work is kind of enforced on them. So there's a lot of inertia, right, at various levels, which impacts the adoption level. So what is the role of leadership in driving the change and creating energy for better adoption of the ERP platforms in an institute?
My take there is both the university as well as the service provider must have a clear-cut engagement perspective when it comes to what the university wants versus what is deliverable by the ERP provider. I myself have undergone such situations wherein I had crossed path with TCS Ion in my earlier engagement, wherein we had hired TCS Ion to develop the ERP, end-to-end ERP for one of my previous engagement institutes, and we had certain challenges there. Basically, the learning from that experience was that if you do not document what actually is the expectation of the institution versus what is the deliverable, the whole process collapses at some point of time or other. The second aspect is data. There is always a legacy data which needs to be ported back onto the new ERP regime, and the way that data is structured versus the new ERP which is going to come, whether it is going to accept the data in the same format, is also a very big challenge, because this is where the faculty or the stakeholders face the brunt. Like some of the times, not always, you are made to re-enter the data which is already available in your older ERP versions on the new service provider, because the seamless integration is not available in the new. So the decision of choosing the right provider becomes very, very important and vital for the administrators. And also, as administrator, one must know exactly what he or she is looking for when we are engaging a organization to develop or tailor an ERP for us. Because most of the time, ERPs are already available. The same is the case with TCS Ion also. There is a standard thing available, but each institute has its own unique way of functioning across the various verticals of the institute. It could be academics, or it could be accounts, it could be the student life cycle. Whatever is the vertical in the ERP, each institute has its own way of doing, and that is where the tinkering of the existing ERP plays a very important role. And while we do that, if we do not define the processes properly, and both the provider as well as the institute are not on common page when it comes to the expectations versus what is getting delivered, the whole thing is again shall definitely fail. So keeping this in mind, we need to document every bit of what we want. The new service provider who is going to come in must understand the novices and understand the what are all those nitty-gritties of the type of solution that the institute is looking for, and then maybe have a plan A, B, C, and then there should always be the continuous brainstorming, and there should always be scope for course correction whenever we see that the phases of development is not as per the scheduled plan. Because most of the time we would say we would complete one vertical, one component in some specific period of time, then have a dry run of it, and then say we'll understand whether it is working as per the way we want, and then we would do the correction, and then the company comes back and tells us that no, this cannot be done, this was not agreed upon. So these are the various things which create stumbling blocks, but that can be definitely worked out, and that is where the role of the administrator comes, when we clearly define our expectations and what we want from the service provider, and that makes the job easier on either side, and then definitely we should be able to see success with whatever is being given to us.
Absolutely, sir. Completely agree. Yes, what you mentioned is absolutely correct. Collaboration is very, very important between the provider and also the institute. And yes, there would be things which sometimes need course connections, and all this must be kind of settled in a very collaborative manner. And it's because it's not like, it will take some time, sometimes a month or more than a month to implement all this. And it has a very long-term significance. So keeping that in view, I think both the sides, the intent is very important to ensure that it's a success. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the inputs. Okay, next question is to Dr. Sojan Lal. Sir, as you know, pandemic is coming to end, though there are some news that again, a new wave kind of might start, hopefully not. But as of now, the institutes are open and campuses are open and the students are back and happy being at the campus. But one thing looks like a permanent change that has happened is, things didn't go back completely to the pre-COVID levels when it comes to the way education is delivered. There is many institutes are actually adopting something called hybrid model, where there is a component of, say, online learning, right? Even in today when the campuses are open. So, what do you think are the benefits of such a hybrid model?
First of all, it's a really wonderful question, and I'm sure that every higher education institutions will be looking forward this answer to this also. And also, I'm quite happy that on the previous panel, members are already established and they have shared their success stories. So I think we are coming to almost to the answer that is also there. Coming back to my own experiences in mid of 90s and the early 2000, I was with the petroleum industries, and there also that time, the major challenge was the implementation of the system and the participation of the people, all the stakeholders was one of the most challenging. And here also now, if you come to the academic institutions, like because of the COVID-19, that everything has made it very faster, and all the stakeholders like the faculty members, students, and everybody is familiar with the system. And now, as we know that the blended teaching mode and the blended mode of online and offline will give you a tremendous opportunity. And definitely we should carry on with all the positive benefits. And definitely we can come back to the campus, enjoy the campus culture and everything as it is there. So all the activities, we'll be supporting that to continue on the hybrid mode. And for example, attending the webinars, faculty development programs, video conferences, sharing the resources through LMS and other retrieval systems, and also let's continue the practice, tailor-made the solutions and the advancement of the technology and everything. So I strongly support to go for the hybrid model, and let us continue with that. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. I completely agree. I think most institutes have already seen those who had not earlier or who were forced to adopt this because of the COVID, but then they could actually see the benefit of having kind of, say, for example, an LMS platform. There are multiple benefits of it. So they have seen that, and I think there is a permanent shift in the way they're looking at this. Thank you. Thanks for the input, sir. So the last question now for Dr. Dipankar. Sir, many institutes continue to follow manual process. The things are changing, but there are institutes, right, who are still using, say, paper-based processes. So from your experience, sir, could you share a few instances where you could bring process efficiency through, say, process standardization and automation, etc.?
Yeah. Thank you. I will share my 3 examples that might help understand the importance of these kind of applications, ERP applications or automation. First example, like Centurion, our tagline is empowering lives and empowering communities and shaping lives. Now, so we want that all the students get some kind of employability at the end of their career. Now imagine there is one student, actually it is from our experience, there is a student from BSc and that student was not doing well in the course. So when we evaluate our examination system will evaluate that 80% or 90% scored above 80% or above 90%. So everybody is happy. But that student is not doing well and that student fails. Now the mentor, we have a mentoring system going on parallelly. The mentor knows that the student has some problem and he doesn't like that course. That's why he is not willing to continue that course, but he has a skill in some other area. So imagine mentoring and examination evaluation, they are going parallelly. Until and unless they converge, we cannot identify such cases where we can really change the life of the student. It is possible that after say 1 semester, we can decide, no, this is not the right course for you. You move to this other course or you can go for skill. So like this, we can change the lives of the student. Another example I want to give, we actually floated one course, MSc on pharma chemistry. Now, how the idea of floating this kind of course came to our mind, it came from the placement cell. Now, in the placement cell in the Vijayanagaram campus, they found in the vicinity there are a lot of pharma companies, but sometimes due to a lot of regulations, it is difficult to find pharmacy students. But there is a requirement of chemistry students with some pharma background that they want. So they shared that with the faculty members and then we came up with this course. Now imagine if we as an academician plan for certain courses, we will go in our track wherever we feel. But here the admission team or placement team, they converged here and that's why we floated this kind of course. So curriculum development, admission and placement, all these things converged in this case. And then it became a successful model. Now, another thing is, another example, we have a tie-up with Dassault Systems of France. Now, in Dassault Systems, when they recruit students, they want a strong background in Java. Now, if we have an evaluation system of the students, and that we maintain manually that these students are good in Java. But the placement team are working on with Dassault that they need those students. Now, if this evaluation team and this placement team converge, then only it is possible to find the right students at the right time. Why I gave all these examples, the reason is pretty simple. It means that ERP or the institute working in the cloud is not some separate processes we run. We need an integration of all the different processes. What Professor Bose actually rightly mentioned, that it is not like that I run a small thing here, another thing here by a separate company or separate institute. It should be integrated. So here, another important thing we need to keep in mind is about data. Some people are really good in storing data. They write everything. But there are a lot of people who are reluctant to write. So those things we need to bring into a system. And once we have the raw data, then we have to filter and process the data and then find the useful information and help us in making some decisions. So here, what we need from a company providing support related to ERP applications is it should be able to collect data with proper security. It should be able to process the data. It should be able to help us make decisions, and it can customize their solutions according to the need of the company. And also there will be robust evaluation system that the system is running correctly or not. That kind of evaluation system should be there. So all these functions should work at the same place. So when we try to identify any company, we need actually a company that will meet everything. So a single vendor is always the best choice for this kind of thing. And TCS, and as in the video also, and in the initial discussions also by the panel members, what we can clearly see, and from our experience also, we can see you have the capability of providing all sorts of solutions, and you can customize the solutions. So that is the actual need. So this criteria, if a vendor satisfies, then that is the right choice for any ERP solution. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. I think that's the perfect explanation to sum up everything that we discussed today in our panel discussion. Having, the examples, 3 examples you've given is perfect, right? How it's not, each department, whether it's placements or academics or, the exam department, they cannot work in isolation. They need to converge together to make a meaningful result and create a success story, whether it is launching a new program like MSc in pharma chemistry, or, ensuring that, the right skill is imparted to the student for better placements. Absolutely, sir. And yes, having an integrated platform like the one we provide by TCS Ion is extremely critical in this sense. And once we have the data integrated and get the 360-degree view, there are no limit to what insights we can get. Right? A lot of permutation combination can be done, and new insights can be continuously extracted out of it. So thanks, Dr. Dipankar. And yeah, so that is the end of our panel discussion. And I hope it was useful, and everyone got valuable insights from this. So we kind of saw that technology is here to stay, and has become integral part to the higher education space today. And to stay relevant and to be competitive, it's very important for all institutes. And as we know, NEP is also kind of recommending that 2 years down the line, there will not be any more affiliated institutes. Right? Every institute will be a multidisciplinary institutes. And in such a scenario, it's very important that there is a sound and solid platform, technology platform, to manage the operations, so that in the hyper competitive world, there can be differentiation by the institutes, and they can grow and prosper. So thank you again to the esteemed panel, and thanks to all the attendees who attended this.